It's difficult to fight with the feeling of feeling somehow guilty, not to work, not to have a position. You have no position, I have no position, I'm not working, I need to work, I need to feed my family. I mean, this reflex, it's hard to fight in the beginning. 2 years ago, I was really starving for this volatility. Now, I'm not behind the screen anymore. And the first Friday of the month is a day off for me now. With those money management rules, you have to have this education prior to anything else.
Today, I met up with Hugues, and Hugues is a newly funded Forex trader. He has worked a pretty impressive career, but recently, quite later on in his career, unlike a lot of us traders, he's changed completely what he's doing to take on trading full time. In support of his family and, you know, these aspirations he has in his life, he has broken through the mold of the unprofitable cycle that most traders follow, and he's made it work. The way he's done it and how he's done it is really quite impressive. The way he trades is unusual to someone like myself, but again, very impressive. So I'm really excited to show you his story and to talk you through his journey. He's a really interesting guy, and it was a really wonderful conversation. So let's get into it. If you're not doing so already, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Pop that notification bell on so you don't miss our next video. Thank you. We are joined today by Hugues. Hugues is going to tell us a little bit about his story. He is now a CTI funded trader. Is that right, Hugues?
Yes, correct.
Congratulations.
For a few days. Thank you.
So we want to find out today a little bit about your journey, kind of how you got into trading, what brought you to trading. We'll talk a little bit later about how you came across CTI, but let's just start with you. So how have you got into trading?
Well, that was a long time ago, actually, right after my studies. I spent a couple of years in London. At the time, it was still mandatory to do some military duty, but instead of going to the army, you could work for a French company for a few months, but abroad, helping to promote French companies. And I ended in a bank in London, in the city. Of course, the goal for me was to improve my English at the time.
Yeah,
and
you're doing very well.
Yeah,
your English is definitely better than my French.
Well, I might have a bit of a German accent. I only worked with German people for 20 years, but in English.
Okay.
So yes, I spent actually a couple of years in London. I was in an equity derivatives desk. So plenty of clever people utilizing some optional products. It was all about Black-Scholes formula and the like. I was very young. I was here to support on the IT side, actually. I was here to mitigate a relationship between front office and back office. So I was sort of a blue helmet between the lines. And I survived it. It was interesting. I got curious about the market. I was just a student, so I had not much money, but I probably purchased my very first stock at the time.
No way.
It was in 2000. So that was the bubble. The dot-com bubble at the time.
Do you remember the first moment you kind of found or came across a chart? Do you remember that moment? I remember really specifically. I remember being sat watching TV, and an advert came up for, I think it was Plus 500. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like a broker app, and I remember the advert being something like "make money from home" or "make money sat on your phone" or something like that. I might have been on Instagram or one of these social media platforms. I'm not sure. And I remember downloading this thing and seeing all these charts and candles. I remember it really vividly. The moment I was like, "I'm gonna make money out of this. I'm gonna find a way of making a career out of this." And look, hey ho, we're here now. Do you remember that moment for you?
I was a teenager, and that was my father looking in the newspaper. In the 80s. So that was not on the screen. That was a chart, but on a piece of paper.
That was the original trading.
He was already interested in stock market, and he was a bit trading or investing, let's say. So I knew there was another way to earn money than the hard work in the industry or whatever. So I always got curious about it. But when I saw it for the first time on the screen, that was really in London. Crazy chart. I understood nothing. I didn't know what was a candle or a stick or whatever.
Yeah.
So I had to basically learn step by step, being curious. And well, it was exciting. I was very, very curious about it.
And
I'm an engineer, and I needed to understand.
okay, yeah. And you know what? I think that's a really common trait with traders is that desire for knowledge to kind of work something out. You know, it's amazing how many people, you know, mathematicians and engineers and people that work in really kind of constructive, creative roles that ultimately end up in trading. They've always got some sort of story like that. So that was your first kind of taste of trading per se. When did you decide to make it a career?
3 years ago. So there was pretty much 20 years in between this London experience and my start as a professional trader 3 years ago. In the meantime, I worked in the heavy sector, heavy industry, so mining industry to be specific, as an IT engineer and IT manager and so on. And basically, 2020, the COVID arrived. I was working like hell. The conditions became extremely difficult. I was working abroad, traveling all day long, and that started to hurt my family life. And I was really in the need to take a break. I was close to a burnout, to be honest. And I was missing the family. The family was missing me. So it was time to be home. And what could I do from home? I need a break, but I need to be occupied. Being at home doing nothing, even if for a few months that was affordable for me, was not satisfactory. As an engineer, I need to work on something. And yeah, I remember, hey, by the way, you knew about the market in the past, and why not reading there? It's news every day. It's changing every hour. It's interesting. It's very dynamic. It will occupy your day. And I started that way, end of 2020, and well, it took me maybe a couple of hours before I placed my first trade without being trained about trading strategy, without knowing anything about money management. Well, you can imagine disaster.
Yeah. What do you remember what you were trading?
The very first thing I was trading are stocks. Air France, the French airline company.
Okay, yeah.
Which is known to be very volatile. And after the Pfizer vaccine was out,
yeah,
it went up, and for me, wow, fantastic! It's easy. No, it's not.
Hey, it's good to make money in trending markets, isn't it? It's easy to make money when it's all moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that? How long ago was that you were trading the Air France?
Oh, that was for a few weeks only, and then I knew I was in the need to better master that, so I started to take first courses. It's very easy nowadays to find resources on the internet, especially about technical analysis. So I learned about the candle patterns, all those charts, figures, and so on, and started there. And then as an engineer, I became curious also about the indicators to the point where I over-engineered my approach, and that was leading to nowhere.
I think we've all been there with kind of 10 different EMAs on the chart and Bollinger Bands and RSI and MACD and all that stuff. I remember that.
Then I realized, okay, do you want to be an analyst or a trader? These are very different jobs.
Absolutely. And how many years ago was this?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
End of 2020, yes.
So you've been trading, I mean, with the greatest of respect, you've not been trading too long then in the grand scheme of things.
No. Well, in the previous 10, 15 years, I was investing, I would say, on the stock markets.
You were doing some kind of trading.
My savings, the money I earned from my job. So that was not on a very basic saving account. That was really on the stock market. And well, between I started to invest especially from 2009, 2010. So after the financial crisis, there was a beginning of a recovery and an accelerating recovery. So it went quite well, to be honest, there. But this was no trading. That was only investment. And then I thought, okay, if now I want to professionalize that, if I want to increase the alpha, okay, I need to look a bit on the shorter time horizon, a bit more aggressive, a bit more dynamic. And that's how I came into the technical analysis. Whereas before I was only looking at fundamentals.
Okay. Do you remember the specific moment that you were trading and you were kind of looking at charts and thinking, do you know what? I can make a career at this. I can start making some serious money.
Yeah, that was January 2021. So only a few weeks after I started, I made an excellent month.
Yeah.
I had actually started to read plenty of analysts promising that this was only a technical dead cat bounce somehow, that because of the COVID and all this monetary liquidity which came into the market that would not be sustainable. I got convinced that the market will crash immediately in the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
And in a particular week, there was a market drawdown, and I was selling at the time. And in 1 month, I earned a few thousand euro.
Good.
A bit more than what I was earning before in a single month. And I thought, okay, I could make it. Okay, I do that, multiply 12, so that makes a yearly interesting salary. Let's make it.
Yeah. So how did you do it so quickly? Because look, I've been trading 7 years now, and I've only been making money for 3 of them. I've spent 4 years making basically nothing, burning accounts.
I made money. Yeah, sorry. I made money in that particular month of January.
Okay.
But then I lost everything again. Okay. Because, of course, the market was not crashing at all. It was actually skyrocketing.
You must be superhuman if you can go into it, just start making money and think, do you know what?
No.
Make this a career of mine. And then now we're 2 years down the line. So there's got to be something there. Okay, so you blew it.
I blew it completely, and I remained flat, no revenue for 9 months, I think. Then came September 2021. Very first time we heard about inflation.
Yeah.
Same approach again, aggressively selling the market. Still, I was already trained about all those technical analysis, but not seriously about money management. So what I did, 100% invested, full leverage, maximum leverage, all European US index in September 2021. At the end of the month, was fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I did, okay, yes, I thought if I do that 12 times, so every single month, I'm millionaire in the upcoming year.
Fantastic.
Guess what? 2 weeks later, wrecked. Nothing left on the account.
Goodbye account.
Oh yes, goodbye account. Well, it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Then I had to understand that even though you are engineer, well educated, that your brain is not that stupid, you will not master the market. Never.
How did you fix your brain?
Sorry?
How did you fix your brain? How did you get your brain to where it is now?
It took a while, to be honest. The hit was very strong. I was really in strong doubt that I would continue doing that. Mm-hmm. I lost a few dozens of €1,000. Okay. So basically a 5-digit amount, so a big amount.
Yeah.
So yes, there was some doubt. I didn't trade it anymore for 3 months. I took some vacation, went overseas, visiting the family on the other side of the oceans, rest a bit, and I was in a need of restful time, basically. And then I had another time where I was lucky, so that was January 2022 this time, and I earned basically a seat in a trading group. So these are French people trading together, and I earned that a seat for a year in Twitter. And then I realized, okay, yes, it's actually good not to be alone, because I got a lot of contradictory advice to what I was doing. So for the very first time, someone was looking over my shoulder, and damn, that was really needed. Yeah. Another thing is that I found a mentor, my very first mentor at the time, and he told me, well, you try to reconcile financial market with economical indicators. In some periods, that works. But at the moment, sorry, it's all about liquidity.
Yeah.
Forget about employment. You could even forget about the microeconomics.
Yeah.
There's just plenty of money. And then for me, that was really catching my eye. Well, in the end, this equation of, the liquidity, which says that the mass of liquidity multiplied by its velocity equals the price of product multiplied by the quantity of product. This is actually fluid mechanics.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very close to the ideal gas equation. PV equal nRT, pressure, volume. Yeah, exactly. It has quantity of gas, temperature. So there's a guy in the central bank. He saw that because of the COVID, someone turned off the temperature. There was no velocity. To compensate that, they injected a lot of volume to keep the balance, to avoid basically a price crash. But suddenly the temperature came back, but the volume was already there. So the price blew up. Okay, I got the concept.
Good analogy then.
I got the concept finally. And I left on the side everything I studied during a year. And okay, let's have a fresh start. Technical analysis, follow the charts, think liquidity only at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm profitable for a bit more than a year now. Still a few hiccups to optimize the money management, and I'm profitable since spring 2022.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
A bit more than a year, but there was a bit more than 2 years, or let's say 2 years, nothing.
It's a really lovely feeling when you get to that stage where you find your profitability and you can start really setting goals and realistic targets for yourself based upon what you want to do. You made a comment earlier about how the reason why you wanted to trade ultimately was to kind of rebalance the work-life balance that you had. And I think that's a really important thing to focus on, because I think so many people go into trading for the wrong reasons. I turned 35 this year, and for me, I really feel my mortality these days. I really, you hear stories about people's lives ending at 40 or 50 or, there's various ages. And I think time is so precious. And so many of us spend so much of our time sat in an office working for somebody, and they don't have goals to get out of that and to obtain their freedom. And that, for me, trading for me was always about freedom. But so many people, they focus on the wrong things. They focus on the money or the materialistic things that they can buy. They focus on the Lamborghinis and the trips to Dubai and all these lovely things that come with the territory. But what they don't realize is what they should be focusing on is their freedom, because you spend 5 days out of 7 days of a week working for somebody else, making your money to pay your bills. Most people are in a kind of month-to-month, paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. For me, it's not about flash items or nice holidays. If I have those and I can afford those, it's great. For me, it's about time and getting my freedom back to spend with my family and spend with my son. These things are so precious and so valuable. And I think if you offered, there's that story, isn't there, where if you were offered $10 million, but the condition is that you only had 1 day left 1 day left to spend it, would you take the $10 million? And most people would say no to that question, because, and then to put that into perspective, it's, well, that $10 million or $100 million or whatever the figure is, 1 day extra on the planet is more valuable to you than that $100 million or $10 million might be. And so I think people prioritize the wrong things. And I think the reason why you've done it is the reason why you have achieved it. I think if you go into this game looking just for the money, you probably won't achieve what you need, because you're chasing, you're pushing, you're putting pressure on yourself. If you go onto this with a bigger picture in mind of saying, I want my life back, actually it allows you more time then, doesn't it? Because you've got the freedom to say, well, I'm going to be working with this company for the next 10 to 15 years if I don't do this. So if it takes me 5 years to find my profitability, then it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And
that's correct. But there is a danger with that as well. When you discover the market, if you get excited about it, there's so much to learn. Its dynamic is also very attractive. It can capture you. It can catch you basically, and you end up in working way more than before. That happened to me in the beginning, and I mean the first issue people will typically face is overtrading, especially as you say, because unless you start your professional life directly being a trader. But if you had a life as an employee before, you used to have this monthly check. So you have the feeling that you have to work. You have to make sure that you have a regular income, a weekly one or at least a monthly one. But actually, you can only get it when the market allows you to get it.
Yeah, when it's right. Yeah.
And it's difficult to fight with the feeling of feeling somehow guilty not to work, not to have a position. You have no position. I have no position. I'm not working. I need to work. I need to feed my family. I mean, this reflex, it's hard to fight in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes a while. It's also part of this 3-year learning curve, which I now have behind me.
Yeah, and I think you know it shows how disciplined and patient and structured you obviously are in your own mindset already, because I think very few people find their profitability in just 3 years. I was really bad with overtrading, and I'll be honest, until quite recently, I've been funded now for coming up to 2 years or so with various different companies, and even though I was profitable, I'm more profitable than ever now, because I've stopped overtrading. So I used to trade 5 to 6 pairs: EU, GU, AU, AJ, EJ, Euro, Aussie, and you know I would interchange a few of them here and there. And I was doing exactly what you said. I would constantly be chasing the next trade. I would feel like I need to be in the market. I was quite strict with my approach in terms of I trade London session and I trade New York Open, but I would want to find a trade in each one of those areas. Now I trade EU, that's it. And if I find one in London, I probably won't take one in New York. Worst case scenario for me, I'm taking 2 positions now. Whereas I could show you some of my charts from before. Sometimes I'd take 10 positions, or I'd make my risk smaller so I could keep adding into it. And it's just a messy way of trading. And I think there has to be a level of risk, doesn't there? There has to be a level of, I don't want to lose this to make it valuable to you. But I think sometimes people, they do, like, you see it on all the time. People drop 0.01 lots and then it has no meaning or value to them. They're like, it doesn't matter if it loses, it's nothing. So now I trade quite large. I'll trade at about 1% or 2% per trade sometimes. So I'm scared of losing it, and therefore I won't put it on unless it's perfect.
Okay. Well, same there. Overtrading was hard to fight. Now I'm to the point where whenever there is a speech from the Federal Bank, as tonight, or that the NFP is published on the first Friday of the month. 2 years ago, I was really starving for this volatility. Now I'm not behind the screen anymore. And the first Friday of the month is a day off for me now.
Yeah. Do you know what? I have had a good day today, I'll be honest with you. I've done about...
Well done.
I did about 2% today. It was a good day. But I would normally not. The EU, I don't know if you've looked at Euro dollar today, but EU was really clean. There's a really clear sell on it, and I took it, and the news wasn't too fussy, and it worked really well. But I'm the same as you. Normally, I would stay away from news events. I quite like trading the aftermath. You know, Euro USD, especially if there is a big news event, will usually sweep some kind of liquidity that it's been trying to sweep for a little while. And the aftermath then is quite good to trade. But I'm the same as you. You know, so many people chase those news events because they're so volatile. I read some statistics a little while ago that, let me just think about it, make sure I get it right. It was some stats that one of the brokers had published. And it said something along the lines of like 80% of traders that made profit in one news event blew their account on the second or third event afterwards. So you can get into some great positions, but your risk of losing your entire account clearly in these instances is really high. And I think it's interesting to understand. You learn as a trader, don't you, to become more and more selective. You become hyper selective. You get to a point where you're just like, less is more. What other criteria can I put into my trading plan that will stop me from trading? That's the sort of things I'm looking for now. It's things that will prevent me from trading rather than things that I know when I should be trading, because those are the really obvious ones. But what can I look for now that will stop me from trading, potentially stop me from taking a loss? And I think that's a really important trait to have as well.
Yeah.
So talking about you and your trading style, we're going to get in and have a look at your charts in just a minute, but talking about your trading style then, what would you say if someone was to ask you, what kind of Forex trader are you? Well, firstly, are you a Forex trader? Because you might trade.
I'm not. I'm not a Forex trader, actually. I used to trade a bit the euro dollar, but that's the only pair I ever traded, and
the only one worth trading.
Rarely. So I'm trading the European index, the German index. It's for me sort of an hybrid index between some of the slow European index and the Nasdaq. It has a relatively good volatility.
Is that Germany 30?
It's traded by a lot of people.
Is that the DAX or is it Germany 30? Have I got that right?
Yeah, the DAX, the Germany 30.
Yeah, Germany 30. Right, that is, Do you know what? That's one of the first pairs or indexes that I traded when I first got into trading. And I remember taking these trades and I had no clue what risk management was. I remember taking these trades and having these huge moves on it. And then if it would move and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm making more money off the DAX than I'm off on anything else, and thinking it was amazing. And then obviously sometimes you get caught the wrong way and you pay the price, don't you?
I think this index alone is 80% of my trades.
Really?
The rest is the French F40 and the S&P 500.
Okay.
The S&P 500 is something I look very closely at, but for me it's more a leading index. So I use it to build the framework which I will use to trade the European ones. But I avoid trade in the US just for the sake of my family life and not being stuck behind my screen in the evening. That's the only reason. I might open a position, but it's always a position I can forget about at least overnight.
Okay. So when you take a trade, how long do you usually take a trade for?
My trade duration, the average one, is actually very, very short. If I look at the chart that I will share with you, it's a few hours, between 1 and 40 hours max.
You're a classic day trader then, in terms of your trading.
I'm a day trader, and I'm scalping as well occasionally.
Day trader scalp.
But when I start scalping, for me it's normally the beginning of overtrading. So it means that I should do something else and let my intraday trade run.
And if somebody was to ask you what trading strategy that you use, what would you tell them? Is there can you put it under a hat, so to speak?
Multi-time units, dynamic technical analysis. I don't know how to say, but so basically it's very technical analysis oriented, but based on the chart pattern.
Okay.
So,
I think you're gonna
some would say it's a price action, actually.
Price action trading. Okay. That's
yes, it's price action trading.
Yeah.
In the H1 in the hourly time frame. That's pretty much my main time frame for trading. But every weekend I set my scenario based on the weekly and daily trends, which I can identify, and the daily levels, the daily horizontal levels.
Okay. Well, I think this is as good a time as any to get into your charts and have a look at them. So we're going to go over to Hugues' charts. We're going to have a look at some trades that he's done recently. He's going to talk us through how he sets up his markets and what he's looking for ultimately in the marketplace.
So I shared the screen number 2. So you should see my pro real-time screen with the daily chart for the German index.
Yeah.
So actually, this is the chart I use for the weekly preparation.
Okay.
What to say there? So there's a lot on the chart, but in the end, there's only a few I use.
Okay.
I'm using channels. Any parallel line things. So the Andrews fork and the classic channels. These are my key graphical elements, as well, of course, as the horizontal levels.
Sure.
Something important for me is to do this preparation on the spot graph. So I look at the graph for my strategic view.
Yeah.
Only the graph that the big ends, the investment funds, the pension funds will look at. They don't really care about what is happening before or after the spot market.
Sure.
We do, of course, as we trade either futures or CFD and the like, but that does not matter too much, and I prefer to use the levels given by the spot.
Okay. But
those I will then use in my H1, so the hourly time frame.
Yeah.
I will report those levels there, and I will trade, of course, on the CFD, which is from 8 to 22, basically,
okay.
All day long. So to illustrate what I did recently, very, very easy. There was an extremely strong level there for the DAX at 15,500, which broke in the late September.
And what makes
I was not really available to take any trade there, but I patiently waited for the pullback.
Okay. And what
I was waiting for a pullback in that zone, and then looking for a signal in the hourly time frame to start selling from there. And as you can see with this very steep red channel, it worked quite good.
Of course. What makes that level so strong for you? What about that level? Is it just the fact that it's a psychological level of 15.5? What about it is strong?
It's not that psychological. It was tested already 3 times in April, July, and August. So already 3 times. It's even visible in the weekly and monthly chart. So this level was very significant from there. I also noticed that it's where the monthly Tenkan, from the Ishimoku system, was arriving.
Okay.
And I know that there's a lot of Ishimoku traders on the DAX, on this German index.
Right. Okay.
I consider that. I'm not using the system myself, but I know there are plenty of people here. And a good trader is a good follower.
Sure.
So basically, I also waited to see a lot of lines converging at that level to make sure that I would have a realistic chance to get a signal, a selling signal there.
Yeah.
So I had that chart as a preparation for my week, and when I trade, of course, I use MetaTrader as in City Trader, Imperium Trader. So that brings us here. You still see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically we are a bit lower here. Sorry, that's not exactly that level. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the level I showed was the one I used for the first phase of my challenge.
Sure.
What I show you now is pretty much the same pattern, but one level below. There was another level here. Another zone between 14,900 and 14,950.
Yeah.
Which you can see here was flagged with some attempt by the market to push up and break that resistance, but it failed. And that's basically in that zone which I started to aggressively sell.
Okay.
Then I have to say, for the second phase of my challenge with CTI, I've been very lucky because the trend was clearly established, as you could see on the charts.
Yeah.
And I ended up with only, I think, 3 of those trades which failed, and all others were successful.
Amazing.
So that was in a very narrow time frame, only a few days, which is for me unusual, but I passed the phase 2 of the challenge within the 5 given days from CTI.
Yeah.
Not more, not less. And basically that has been very, very nice.
Amazing. Amazing.
If you look at the history for that particular account, if I show there, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lost trades.
Yeah.
and all the rest was successful.
Amazing. That's a really good profit and loss track record there. All that blue. It's a lovely sight.
That's also means something about my trading style. I'm a trader of convergence, or I tend to trade, not always the trend. So I'm not always taking an acceleration breakout. I tend to trade return to the mean, as we say sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
So I saw an anomaly. So there was a pullback. So from a bearish perspective, a pullback is an anomaly, and then return to the previous trend. A return to the M20, the mobile average 20, and the inferior Bollinger Band.
And are you looking for a specific signal to get into a trade? So obviously you use your daily time frame for your kind of higher time frame bias. You're then going to drop down to the hourly time frame. What are you going any lower than that to find your entries?
Sporadically, yes, but I rather wait that the hourly candle is closed. So it really shows a rejection from the market before I place a trade. Sometimes I go in the M15 time unit to see if there is another pattern in there.
And where are you placing your stop?
A significant RME or a reversal, those shooting stars, the evening stars or morning stars, these kind of things. But it's much safer to wait the hourly candle is completely closed.
And where are you placing your stop? So if I'm looking at the trades that you've taken here on the 24th of October around 1
the stops were very close, actually. So they must have been, they are not visible anymore. They must have been right above this
I was going to say you were lucky to not be
resistance out, or the other one.
You were lucky to not be stopped out on that little wick.
Yes, for that one here, as I took it already in the rejection line, probably for this one, I took it from an M15 signal, but all the others I took below the line. So the candles were closed here. And and I'm sure that my stop was not above that first resistance, but above the second one.
Good job too. Good job it was. So you didn't get stopped out.
Yeah. Well, I have to say in October the trend was easier than usual.
Yeah, that's good. That's fantastic. And so what would you? So let's have a quick look. So you got 5% on that account. Okay. So what would you say would be a normal trading week for you then? What are you doing on average with your strategy?
You mean in terms of performance?
Yeah. In terms of performance, whether that's percentage or whatever you record or are. What do you expect a certain number? Do you have a target? Do you have a limit at all?
I have no profit target. I learned that the market gives what he wants to give, and if you try to force the market to give you something, basically you're gonna lose.
Absolutely.
So a good week can be 5, 6, 7% profit.
Yeah.
So a big increase of the account.
Yeah.
But it can be 2 weeks where there is nothing. Either I do nothing or I try a few positions, but I'm not convinced, and in the end, I earn nothing. The first half of September, I did zero. 2 weeks in a row, I did zero. The first week, I think I didn't even try to trade. The second week, I did try, but I could not identify a clear trend, or there was no yet the breakout of a certain level to identify a new trend.
Sure.
But from half of September and all over October, for me, it became clear that we could find again the same bearish direction as we had in August on the indexes.
Okay. And if anybody watching this wants to kind of learn your strategy, is there a place that you navigate into? Is there a particular mentor? Where did you learn this, and where could people watching this go out and learn this if they wanted to?
Well, I have to say that I look a lot about what other people are doing. There are a lot of very nice people who are very honestly sharing their ideas, the direction, their preferred direction for the upcoming days that they will take on this or that index. So I look at what others are doing. I'm not more clever than others, and basically what I do is to follow other people.
Sure. Okay. I'd love to hear your story in terms of, I understand you do, you've been working with a couple of other prop firms. How did you come across CTI?
I mean, I came to prop firm recently, in the past few months only. Even though I was profitable the first half of this year, the situation was still stressful for me. And discussing with some of my mentors, they told me, okay, you have great performance, but your risk level is very high. You have big positions, or your leverage is high. Somewhat, I had to come to the conclusion that I was undercapitalized. And at least for what I need, having two kids, which I need to prepare to fund their studies. And discussing with a friend of that French group of traders, he told me that he had started trading with prop firms, and actually CTI is his favorite one. So I went to look by myself also about the ratings that you could find on some internet site for this or that prop firm and the like. And CTI, because of its history, because of the seriousness of this challenge, at least this one challenge is asking for a stop loss right from the first phase of the challenge. That is serious. Otherwise, it's not. I really appreciated that. So I was advised to try with CTI, with a couple of others, and clearly CTI comes in the top two, if not top one, because of the seriousness of the challenge.
And what was it that your friend said about CTI? What was it that he or she did to persuade you to come to CTI? What did he say about CTI that he was particularly happy with?
I can give me 1 minute. I will open. He wrote an article actually.
He doesn't work
feedback about his experience about prop firms, and he shared that with the French group of traders. And he wrote something about CTI. So I take it. His name is Thibaut Ranjano. And he wrote about CTI. And he wrote the following. Sorry, just need to find that. So CTI is by far my favorite. The team is great. The spreads are excellent and better than what I've seen with other companies. This was created by two former Londonian traders, and I like Londonians. The scaling plan is the best of the industry. That's what he wrote as well. The challenge is more demanding than with others. You have to reach 10%, not only 8%. You have to have a stop loss.
Yeah.
But that's worth it. And thinking back about my start as a professional trader, I'm thinking now that I should have started with such a challenge, with those money management rules. You have to have this education prior to anything else. Yeah. And actually, through the challenge process, it forced me to check again my money management skills.
Yeah.
Verifying that I was really tracking closely my risk levels per trade all over the accounts. And actually, that gave me even further confidence in my trading.
I think that's a really important note that you make. I think, there are prop firm challenges out there where the rules are a little bit more lenient. And exactly. You've got to ask yourself, what self-respecting prop firm is going to allow that leniency when they're trading actual money? And the answer really is that you're not trading money. You're trading a demo account, and they're paying you out of traders that are failing. And the business model is all wrong. CTI, yes, the profit target is 2% higher. But look, with the greatest of respects, if you can make 8%, then you can make 10%. It's going to take you an extra week potentially, or an extra 3 days. So if you're a serious trader, it really doesn't make any difference other than a little bit of time. And the chances are, if you are a serious trader, you've been doing this for many years anyway, so an extra week or so is not going to make too much difference. But these companies,
even the minimum required time to achieve the target is a very good thing in my perspective. I went through some challenges of other prop firms. The temptation to try to rush to achieve the target, because you can do it in a single day. So, okay, let's try to gamble in the end. It's just the opposite of proper trading.
I think if I was to be honest, I feel like having a short minimum required time that develops the bad habits. It makes people try and rush the account, like you said, when actually, if you made people do it over 20 days or 30 days, you probably get better traders, more patient traders. But that doesn't sell. That's the sad thing. That doesn't sell. The problem is these days, you've got to be so careful. Now, as most of you watching this, if you've seen anything that I've done before, you'll know that I don't work for CTI. I'm not an employee of CTI. They've kindly asked me to come on and host their podcast for them, and I'm very happy to do so. But what's I think is great is they are very clear on their business model, and they're very open. They're very honest with what they do. I've known the owners for quite a few years now. And, you know, the olden days of CTI, their rules used to be very, very strict, and they've relaxed certain things, and they've made it, you know, more in line with companies like FTMO and various companies like that. But you have to be so careful these days, because look at what happened with my Forex funds. You know, I had many accounts with them.
Sad story.
Many accounts with them. What looked like on the outset a very good, honest company like CTI and various other companies, and then look what happened to them. So I think you've got to be really, really careful. And I think if you've got a prop firm that's encouraging the wrong behaviors, low percentage required to pass, short amount of time to pass, no stop loss, you have to probably acknowledge the fact that they are luring the wrong types of traders who are going to be losing their accounts. And the likelihood is that they're probably paying you out of those losses. Companies that are a little bit stricter, like FTMO, CTI, and and a couple of others, those are the good guys, and that's why they've been around for so long. That's why they've been around for so long. They haven't had any trouble. They haven't had any problems. But CTI especially, I think they're very open and honest with the fact that they book their customers. They put you on a live account, which is why why they're strict with their rules, because there's real money at stake. Real money at stake, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I was lucky, as I said, to pass my phase 2 in only the given 5 days. But I have now another challenge ongoing. And the first phase I passed. So I'm now in the phase 2.
Congratulations.
And it took me 18 days. And so what I like with that is that all over those 18 days, I felt no stress. So
absolutely,
this is representative of the comfortable trading I want to have to achieve the objective I have behind trading, which is freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to be captured and not to sleep at night because I have open position with 10 lots on the Nasdaq. No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, what's the next steps for you?
I still need to prove that I will be sustainable. That's
it. Longevity. Longevity is needed.
Exactly.
What's the next steps for you then now? What's next in the trading remit, the new life of Hugues?
So I hope to succeed with this second challenge with CTI.
And you will.
Means that, sorry?
I can feel it. You will. I can feel it. I have much faith.
And if I do, this will basically double my trading capital. I will have half on my own and half with CTI. Mm-hmm. And that will be by far enough. This will have solved the undercapitalization issue I identified a few months. And to be honest, that will be sufficient. That will be sufficient. Maybe later I see if I really have the capacity and the will to trade with more capital. But at the moment, I don't see the need. So we will see later.
Well, good luck to you. I wish you all the best. Now, as we do in this podcast, I'm going to ask you some questions. I've got some questions that I really like to speak to people about because I think it's really interesting for me. as a host to understand different people's thoughts. And then I have a question that's been left for you by Legima, who was the chap that I interviewed last week. And he's left you a question, so I'm going to give you that at the end. And then at the end of this, when we finish today, I'm going to ask you to send me a question, and that's going to be left for the next guest that we have on, hopefully next week. So question number one, nice and simple. And this is a very open question, and it's designed and meant to be open, okay? What has trading taught you?
Humility, certainly humility. I've been lucky all along my career to progress in different positions. So I invested a lot of my energy, a lot of learnings to take on some management position in my former job and so on. And I developed a certain pride, which I think is deserved. But when you face the market and its reality, you have to get down from your podium and to accept that you have to start from scratch.
Absolutely.
Shall you be 47-year-old as I am? Shall you have whatever career behind you? You are a beginner, and I expect to remain a beginner for a long time. Humility, for sure.
I love that. It's a great answer. I think there is nothing more humbling than being punished by the market. There's been so many times that I've quit trading over the years, and I remember watching a video on YouTube that said trading isn't a unrealistic goal. It isn't something that, you know, it's not like becoming a pop star or becoming a Formula One driver. It's something that everybody can do. It just needs time. It just needs experience. And I think the most difficult thing with trading is that it punishes you so many times and so relentlessly. It's so unforgiving. And I think it's really important to understand that over time, just like any skill, you will get better at it. But being humbled by the marketplace, I think, is really important. And I think it shows something about your character, you and the collective you. It really shows you internally what you're made of. If you can keep getting beaten up by the marketplace and keep coming back each and every week and each and every day to make it work, and it shows that you're dedicated and you're tenacious and you've got that perseverance about you. So I think that's a fantastic answer. Humility is what a great way, lesson to learn from trading. What would you change about your journey if you could?
I would have learned money management first, for sure. I studied a lot of things, and for whatever reason, I overlooked money management. Protecting capital is lesson number one. So I would have started there. And I indicated before, if I would have had the chance to know about all this prop firm industry and the offer of CTI, I would have started with a challenge. You pay 60, 80, maybe $100 only in the beginning. It's affordable for a lot of people. You will probably fail, but the lessons, the money management lessons, you will remember much better than if you would try to do with your own funds, where you will certainly oversize. You will increase your position when it goes in the bad direction. You can't do that with a prop firm. No. Otherwise, you're caught by the daily drawdown limit very quickly. So I would have done that. This would have saved a lot of pain. Yeah. Sure. I think this was a painful journey the first 2 years. Really.
Yeah. The rules that the prop firms imply, like if you look at CTI, for example, maximum drawdown and daily drawdown, these sorts of things, they teach you to be a better trader. Ultimately, they teach you to work within confines. And when you think about what you're actually doing, you're actually trading very high risk. Ultimately, only keeping yourself within a certain amount of drawdown and having to then, really your risk, let's say on $100,000 account, you've got a maximum drawdown of 10%. Well, effectively your account's only really 10 grand. So to make 10% on it is quite a high risk way of trading. But that way of trading will teach you, like you said, the talent of protecting your capital. I remember in the early days, I would have no issue going down 3% in a day or 4% in a day or 4.8% sometimes in a day. Now, if I go 1% down, I'm done. I'm out of it. And that's partly over trading and various other factors, but capital preservation is so important. I'll move my stop loss now quicker than ever before. I'll come out of a trade quicker than before. You know, I'll set up a trade sometimes. There might be 5R on it, but if I get a nice profit at 2, I'm out. You know, if I want to get on with my day and go do something else, or I'll come out of the trade. I don't need to hold anymore. And I think problem is when people start a lot of the time is the accounts are quite small. So if you're doing, you know, a $5,000 account and you make 1% on that, you're making $50. It's neither here nor there. People are like, whatever. But actually, if you've got a $200,000 and you make 1%, you've made $2,000. So people don't think at scale, do they? They think at, well, it's only $5,000. It's only 50 quid. But actually, if you think at scale, you've made $2,000 on a $200,000 account. So, yeah, I think that's also, you know, really important lesson is that the prop firms, they teach you to be better money managers. Absolutely.
Exactly. Any day, even though you have not earned any money, but your account is still there and you are still far away from those drawdown limits, it's a successful day. And it's not intuitive because people come to trading to earn money. But when you progress, you understand that not losing money is also a success.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's been your biggest supporter? Your biggest cheerleader? Your wife.
My wife. Clearly, because she accepted that idea of going to trading. Whatever you can hear that it's extremely dangerous and the like. So she gave me a trust. Okay, let's try it. You are curious about it. This will satisfy your curiosity for sure. So you may enjoy it. Just try it. She was present during the hard times in the beginning, and much more than myself, she was able to step back and to tell me, well, you failed, you lost money, but that's actually part of the game, isn't it? Whereas I saw that in the beginning as my failure. No, the trade failed. Yeah. But from the beginning, there was two scenarios for that trade. Either it succeeds or it fails.
Yeah.
And
I think, you know, this is really interesting. My partner, Anna, is exactly the same. And there's been times where, so I don't trade Mondays anymore, but there's been times where I'll come downstairs, I'm looking a bit glum, and she'll say, what have you done? Like, I took a trade. She was like, did it lose? And I was like, yeah. She was like, why are you trading on a Monday? You know not to trade on a Monday. And I feel like she knows my rules better than I know my rules. They have more patience than us, I find, our female other halves. I find that they typically make better traders. Any female traders that I've come across are pretty good. You know, I think there's a couple of podcasts going around at the moment on social medias where a couple of the female traders on there have never blown an account ever. Which is phenomenal. But my partner's the same. My partner's the same, been through all the ups and all the downs, and she's never once doubted me. How did your wife feel when you were into kind of 5 figures of lost accounts? Was there ever a time that she doubted you and maybe suggested that you tried something else?
No, she remained quite calm, and she told me, well, in the end, you lost money, but there will always be a way to earn money, if not trading a job. And what's the issue? Trading is a job. You already had other jobs before, and I'm sure you will find a next job if needed. So a point was, okay, does that really satisfy you? Is it worth the pain and the frustration? And I have to be honest, the first 2 years, it was not. No. It was not. There was too much frustration, too much pain. Fortunately, I was perseverant enough, and I met the good people who helped me to revise my view on the market, to think about money management first, to identify the proper prop firm partner to gain the capital I was missing. It's also a story of meeting the good people who have the experience, who advise you. Being lonely on such a job is a high danger. The more you share about your pain, the more you have a chance to find the right small advice who can come from anyone, your mentor, your wife, friend, whomever, but that can unblock the situation.
I think there's such a development process that's required for trading as well. Our brains aren't designed to take on information and have it accessible instantly. It's not like a filing cabinet where you can open a drawer, put a file in, and if you want that information, you can open it and take it out. When you're learning really complex tasks, your brain is like a computer hard drive. And if you fill a computer hard drive with loads of information, the older hard drives anyway, I don't know if you remember, older hard drives, they have to be defragged. Do you remember that? I'm not sure what the French
exactly.
is.
Absolutely.
Okay. And all the information would go into the hard drive and it all gets mixed up and it stores a bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here. And you could defrag. For those of you who don't know, you could what's called defrag a hard drive, which is basically you run a program. It used to take like 4 hours. You couldn't use your computer all day, could you? And it tidies up all the files. And I find that in my lowest moments with trading, the times where I've been the closest to quitting and I've taken that bit of time off, the brain does something with the information. It's like it needs time to organize. It's like you need sometimes to step away from the charts and to come away from your learning process for your brain to organize the information. And I'm sure you've had them before, Hugo, just like I have, where you wake up one morning or sometimes in the middle of the night at 4 a.m., you're like, that's it. That's what I'm doing wrong. And it comes to you, doesn't it?
And it's also because you're flooded with information.
Yeah.
And you need to manage quite time to sort. You need to sort a lot, really.
Yeah. I found for me now, I work a lot. I work full time. I trade full time. I have my own YouTube. I do bits and bobs like this, as you know. So I'm working all the time, much to my partner's dismay. And I find if I don't organize my brain, which is sleeping well, exercising, going to the gym, eating well, all those things. The one thing that I really appreciate these days is guided meditation. And if you'd said to me 5 years ago, you're going to be meditating every night before bed, I'd be like, it's not going to happen. That's not a bit of me. It's for the hippies and not me. But every night now before bed, I'll get 10 minutes of guided meditation in, and it does something to my brain. I swear, it does something to my brain.
I practice meditation as well.
You?
Actually, there's 4 keywords for me, which basically I look at. I don't know if you see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Every single morning. It's on the back side of my booklet.
Yeah.
Patience, discipline, humility, and kindness. Kindness to yourself.
Yeah.
And this 4th one is, I think, overlooked often.
Is that benevolence in English?
Benevolence, exactly. You would say so.
You had the French one out. Yeah, I think
bienveillance in French.
Yeah, I'm not going to try it. I think it's a really, really important thing. I think so many people do the things that they feel like they should be doing, and they don't do the things that they actually need to be doing. And I think we don't take, life is so crazy these days. People are so on the go, and we don't spend enough time looking after our souls. And I think that's really, really important. I think, we need to make sure we're looking after our souls and our minds and our bodies. And once you start realizing that life is short and you need to look after the people around you, your body, your mind, your health, and all these other things. It's funny how things like your career and your finances and your relationships all improve when you start looking after yourself and being kind to yourself, like you said. It's funny how things around you start improving. I believe in something called the positivity cycle, that if you put out positivity in everything that you do, you put out good work, you eat good food, you go and look after your body, you're kind to people, you help people out. If you put out positivity, you actively attract positivity back. If you have gone to the gym, you'll feel better. If you have eaten well, your gut health is better. If you've been kind to somebody, they'll do you a kindness back. And I think that's really powerful these days, because there's a negativity cycle that so many people are stuck in. And it's the blame mentality of, well, I'm in this situation, so I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to eat rubbish food. I can't be bothered to go to the gym. I'm going to stay up late. I'm not going to be nice to you because the world isn't nice to me. But whether it's karma or any other, framework for it, you attract what you put out. And I think so many people are stuck in that negativity cycle of putting negativity out everywhere that they go, and then not understanding that it's their own fault that they're getting negativity back. And if you're good, kind, honest, and hardworking, I think generally you'll have a pretty good life if you
That's
follow those.
true, and that's probably even more important in these days where the news flow is negative, geopolitics,
Yeah.
high rates, bearish market, whatsoever. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a way to be happy nevertheless with trading if you are able to look at other things than your screen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the final question has been left by Legima, who we interviewed the other week. He's asked, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years in your trading specifically? So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years in trading?
Well, I would hope that I can increase my capital, not because I would pass additional challenges, but maybe using the scaling plan of CTI and increasing also my own funds to keep reducing my risk level, basically, and certainly get more freedom to do other things as you do. You're investing times in podcasts. I've seen a lot of traders who are asked, okay, you are trading for 20 years. You deem to say that you're very successful, but why are you even doing a YouTube video if you earn so much money? Why do you need that?
Yeah,
There's also social needs.
yeah,
And I'm sure that in 10 years, I would do something more social
yeah,
in completion, in addition to the trading.
yeah.
I don't know what it will be, but maybe something as you do, or maybe some conferences. In the beginning, what I would propose is to share my transition experience. If I can help people just by discussing to overcome the pain of the transition process, especially those who had a classic professional career before becoming a trader, I'm happy to share.
I love that. I love that. And I want you to be remembering to contact me when you got your first million. I want you to contact me and we're going to have another conversation and we're going to have another chat and see how you're getting on. I think you're right. There's so much information out there these days, and it's so difficult to know who to trust. And real stories like yours, where you've had a career most of your life so far, you've worked hard in a very different sector to then make that big change, and not just to make that big change, but make that change and make it work. I think that's a really interesting story, and I'm so thank you so much for sharing your story with me today. There's
Thank you for the opportunity and
Hey,
the
you're more than
conversation.
welcome. You're more than welcome. There's so much mixed information out there. There's so many people that you don't never know who to trust. All these people, I fell foul to a few mentors in the past, people that are selling trading courses and things like that. And I think you have to ask yourself why somebody would sell a trading course. If they were a successful trader to the point where they've written a course about their trading, they probably have more money than you and I, if they were that successful. So selling a course, I've always gone on the basis of my education that I do on my YouTube is completely free. I want to help as many people as I can understand how to trade and how to make money trading. And the thing I always come back to is most people go into trading because they want to make more money. So if you've got to pay for that education, it's kind of a counterintuitive, isn't it? You've got to now pay for something to try and make more money. And I'm like, do you know what? I've learned it. I've done the hard work. You've got to put the hard work in too. So I put all my stuff out there for free. And I think you've got to be really careful out there with people that are trying to sell you something. If they're a successful trader, they've got more money than sense most of the time. And therefore, they probably don't need your $50 a month for their education. So that's something to think about, definitely.
Definitely. On that particular matter, there's also a lot to sort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hugo, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. You're more than welcome. And I wish you all the best with your trading and your journey. Please do keep in contact and keep me updated with how well you're doing.
Will do.
My love to your family on your holiday. I hope you enjoyed this. I apologize for taking you away from them. So apologize for me for stealing you for the last hour and a half.
We had planned that for a few days.
Right,
it's organized. It's fine.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel blessed that you put me as part of your holiday day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Bye-bye.
You take care. Cheers.